Well, welcome everyone to this week's Take Charge of Your Life discussion, where we talk about how to live healthy, live empowered, and live free. Our version of mind, body, and soul wellness. I'm Tish Taylor from Growth Centric Living, a mindset trainer and a personal transformation guide, and this is my co-host Roberta.
Hey everyone, I'm Roberta Spitzer and I am a holistic health practitioner and a personal development specialist. And actually, I just am passionate more and more all the time about helping people transform in mind, body, and soul. Such a critical need in our culture today.
Both of us being elite mentorship trainers, certified trainers actually, under our mentor, Mr. Peter Sage. He is a world-renowned behavior expert, self-mastery expert, six-time TED Talk speaker, which I am told is a big deal. Not that many people get to be on TED Talks that often. Also, he shared stages with Richard Branson and has some prestigious global awards with the likes of other mentors and large personal mastery gurus like Nelson Mandela. So our format here in Take Charge of Your Life is to show you a video of his where we can all learn together from the master, Peter Sage. And then we're going to break it down into our little sections of try to give you some tips on how to live healthy, live empowered, and live free.
So this week we have a 60-second video from Peter Sage called Content versus Context. So listen close and have some discussion around that.
If there were 3 words I would encourage you to tattoo on your eyelids that would make a tremendous difference in your life, it would be context is definitive. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you're a parent and you see somebody dragging their child across the road and they yank the arm of the 3-year-old to the point where it physically hurts them, you would probably have judgment about that. And rightly so, because you're a parent that would never do that to your child. But then you look and take a double take, and you realize that that parent snatched the child out of the way of a moving bus. Now you have a completely different context for that action, which completely changes the meaning of what happened. You see, most people are beating themselves up through life, not because of what happens, but because they give a disempowering meaning. And before we start to judge other people, before we judge ourselves, always look for an empowering context. Even turning around and asking the question, look at what I've learned instead of look at what I've lost, can be the difference between a life of fulfillment versus a life on antidepressants. If there was
Wow. All right, so to reiterate what he talked about there, content, okay, versus context. Content is the facts, the events, the things that we can't change. So in Peter's story, it was somebody pulling a child, by the arm. That happened. That is the concrete content. Versus context is really the meaning we give to it, the perspective, sometimes the emotional response that we give to these events, that we give to the facts, to the content. These are the things that, as we move into our first category here, live empowered, the things that Roberta and I really want to encourage you to think of as things that you can choose. We can decide to have empowering context, empowering perspective and responses to facts and events in our lives.
So what's an example that you can think of that would kind of give them a little bit of clarity on that?
So for me, the easiest one is when we think about kids, right? Every parent has had an opportunity to ask their kids to do something, let's say turn the TV off, and the kid ignores them. Those are the facts of the story. Doesn't say whether it's right or wrong, positive or negative. And I really believe that we have 2 choices when we're talking about mindset. We could pick something disempowering where I take it personally. Why isn't my child being respectful? Why aren't they listening? I asked them to do this and they should have done it. Or maybe something a little bit more empowering to be like, okay, what else is going on here? How can I, assist my child? How can I put myself in their shoes and think, well, you know what, maybe TVs are made with dopamine, those kinds of things. I certainly have been addicted to it before. And it's hard to listen, even though they may have heard you. It's not about, being disrespectful necessarily to the parent, but more about, but I really want this. I'm really excited about, this right now. So, you know, choosing empowering context is about picking things like, what did we learn? What can I learn? How can I be a better parent? How can I, meet my kid where they're at in my example for us as parents? What did we get instead of, what didn't we get? What did we lose? What, negative sort of mindsets and perspectives and emotions that we could give to that instead?
Yeah, that's a perfect example. I raised 4 children and I can relate to that and how that instant tendency was to be reactive and to judge the situation kind of in a dominant way, right? Where there's a lot to manage and a lot going on and you just want things to work out. So it's easy to try to control our outcomes in the environment. And I think of, judging people like we have a choice, right? Like you said, we need to wake up and really become aware, because otherwise we just go on autopilot and we're just are more conditioned to choose a negative perspective always than a positive one, because that's just how we're wired to the brain is trying to keep us safe, so it's always going to do the thing that we think is going to be the most safe and consistent. And yeah, if we don't have something to intercept those disempowering judgments or perspectives, we're going to just continue down that path, which doesn't really serve anyone, doesn't serve us or our fulfilling life that we're looking towards.
Not only safety, I think too, if I could add to that, in that we're egotistical beings. So we take things personally. And I definitely, especially with kids and as they kind of grow up, as my daughter particularly, who is older now and has moved out of the house, as I was longing to, clutch on to her being a child, just took so many things personally, that it was about her not wanting to hang out with me or not wanting to be around the family, when in reality, as I sat down and gave myself to sort of work through those thoughts, I could choose something different. In, she's trying to be an adult. She's trying to figure out who she is. It really has nothing to do with me at all. And I just, my job is to then just be patient and, figure out, what can I learn? How can I learn to let go, which really as parents we're supposed to do? And how can I turn this into a positive and be learning just as much as she is?
Yeah, and if we don't choose that empowering mindset, we're just going to continue to live a disempowering life, really. So, being able to have this awareness and make these definitive choices in every area of our life as we go along and become more aware of it, it's just going to get us down, like I said, to that path that we want to be on. And really, so our tip for this one is that for mindset and how to live more empowered with the mind, is to choose a more empowering perspective. And like you had said earlier when we were discussing this, to feel the joy in that, and less judgment will come towards ourselves and towards whatever the situation is. There's a reason behind everything. And I know Peter says too, never judge someone until you've truly walked in their shoes, right? That's kind of an old adage, but it's really true, because until we know someone else's perspective, we would probably do the same thing had we walked in their shoes their whole life.
That has certainly been empowering for me, and really just trying to consider what other possibilities are out there besides my knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, that's so good. And so I think we're going to go into the second area now, which is live healthy, and our body, how we're looking at how it affects us physically. Really, when we're living disempowered with this kind of judgment around the content of our lives, it leaves so much stress in our physical and mental world. Trying to change the outer world when it's just not possible to change, and living with the frustration of that internally causes mental and physical breakdown for the health dynamic, which is a huge factor. It causes people to not sleep at night. Just a myriad of issues that go along with that. So one of the examples that we came up with is that the content could be saying you have a cancer diagnosis, which is a very feeling like a very defeated, disempowering fact of life. And what we can do to have a more empowered mindset, or looking at it from a different perspective, giving it new context, is that the body is capable of healing itself. It always has been. There's many people who have overcome the odds and embrace that mindset. Some people have laughed their way into health because they refuse to think any negative thoughts. And there's scientific documented proof that we can heal ourselves in many different modalities. So knowing that there's totally a different option for empowerment then that, that content loses its power and we become, that empowered person that we're looking to be.
I think when we're talking about the body and health, unfortunately, as a society, we have some very large perspectives that we're sort of bombarded with, as far as, tending to think things like you said, that our bodies can't heal, that food is not a source of medicine. Instead, we need other pharmaceuticals, like we have talked about, without trying food or other things first. That diagnostics are fact, that doctors, and no offense to any of them that have studied, but if we think about really what they're doing and how many different possible diagnoses they have, it's their best guess. So we don't have to take that as content, I guess, like we would be say it in this language, but as fact, right? And that there's nothing we could do about it. We do have a choice. We can choose to believe that. We can choose to look for other possible solutions, or even try different solutions. And then lastly, that our bodies are what they are, that again, that we can't change them, that if you're born with a diagnosis or something like that, that there's nothing that you can do about it. And throughout our work and throughout choosing these more empowering mindsets, I definitely have come to believe that we can change so many things. We are so powerful in our own element when we really own that and choose to figure out how to use it, really, to be in our power and use it to change our bodies. Dr. Joe Dispenza, which we quoted a couple times, is famous for that. He has all kinds of science and tests and stuff that are showing the difference that we can do physically at a cellular level.
Yeah, with just our mindset and choosing how we're going to see things. In our the tip for this is kind of reflects on that. It's your cells hear everything you say and think, right? So be careful of the context that you choose to frame something up as. Yeah, I mean, the bodies, people look at me and they'll say, well, do you think this could be helped? And I'm, my mind, I'm like, of course it can, everything can be helped. I mean, I've worked with healing myself for 12 years, and everything that's come up has absolutely been healed. Some things take several months, some things took a couple of years, but then they're healed and they're gone, and they're not continuing to degenerate and cause more problems. And I'm not aging fast and, having more health issues and symptoms showing up, which is the traditional trend of our culture and our medical model. So yeah, the mindset is truly everything. And then we align with inspired action, whatever action we can take to align with that mindset to bring about the best result. It's absolutely a winning option for most people. I mean, literally anyone can do this. Like Tish said, if we dive into this and really empower ourselves with these resources, tools, and this unlimited ability we have really to create our reality.
I feel that's just so powerful. I wish that was a message that I could give to the world. It would be that we are so much more than we think we are.
Yeah, we're truly unlimited. There's no doubt about it. And we're learning that more and more all the time. And we're just always have our minds blown as to what our possibilities are. And not just possibilities, but they're actually ours. We can own them and embrace them and receive them and, embody them. It's not just something out there that we wish we could do, or maybe if the universe feels gracious towards us, we'll get that option, but it's literally ours, ours for the reaching for.
Yeah, for every single being out there. And that leads us very well into our last section of our talk, which is live free, the realm of the soul. And we're talking about really encompassing that full mind, body, and spiritual realm in order to live a life of fulfillment that comes from choosing empowering context, from choosing to look at events like they are just events. In later discussions, we're going to talk about emotions. It's not just about our thoughts, but also about our emotions and our emotional responses, that you'll put some of that energy and that extra sort of power behind our reactions to the events. We can separate those and then pick how we want to feel, how we want to think about things in order to add more joy to our life, because thinking negative things doesn't feel that great. Thinking positive things and choosing that empowerment feels awesome.
Yeah, and I guess I just wanted to kind of share an example of this whole model that was, I guess such a big example for my life was for the mind part of this, the mindset and how that affected me was going through a divorce and the meaning I gave it. The content was that, life was kind of shattered or things were no longer going to work out or, everybody's going to be devastated. And there was just so many disempowering energies and, ideas and beliefs around that and feelings that came up and choosing that I'm not going down that path. I'm not giving power to that negative disempowering way of being and just choosing to walk down this path of personal growth and inner healing has been the solution for me. And then and how it affected me physically was the like I said, the major mental and physical stress and breakdown of the body, and having to, which then led me to this path of practicing healing and health restoration for other people. So no matter how low we get, I mean, I was at the lowest at that point, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And that was when my gift came forth and I became aware of what my purpose was and I started pursuing it. So we could always find, the gift in something in the empowering perspective, no matter how devastating it might feel. And choosing that path and saying, I'm going to find the gold in this, I'm going to find the gift in it, has led me down tremendous paths of transformation and empowerment. So and then in the soul realm, like I said, I wouldn't let it define my life. Like I'm not letting one event in my history define the rest of my life or live in the victim realm or the devastated realm or, my heart's broken. Now I just have to be wounded the rest of my life. It's truly a choice to not, to stay in that and finding the right resources. Like we feel like this path that we're on has been so definitive and so, you know, just has transformed so much that it's hard to not talk about it and share it and invite other people to walk that path of freedom also. And so, yeah, that's kind of the culmination of this, explanation for the content versus context that really, spoke to me through this experience.
And the event being your divorce, you said, right?
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, my personally being through a similar event in my own life has really changed how I talk to, again, my kids in, that expectation of, that pulls up so much heartbreak around those events when you decide that you want to choose, somebody else or that a relationship isn't working the way you want it to. Picking, deciding that, we don't have to just be one. We don't have to pigeonhole ourselves into this fairy tale that we've been sold. Instead, we can expect that lots of relationships will come and serve us in throughout our lives. And that way, we're not held on to those things as much.
Yeah, I know we talked earlier in one of our discussions that, we live in a friendly universe. So it's not that around every corner is another devastation. It's really where we choose to focus is what we're going to see. And having this mindset shift and just consistently putting that positive perspective before me. I had a very negative mind for many, many decades. So it's like being able to now be on, the cup is half full, so to speak, instead of half empty. And then it just gets more and more empowered all the time because you just keep programming and refusing to stay in the old typical way of being. So it's a, our invitation this afternoon will be focused on that, just really inviting people to explore that opportunity because living an empowered mindset has, changes everything. Like your whole world changes.
Well, let's actually get into that. You're alluding it. Our tip to wrap up the soul part of our discussion is to choose to believe in your power. A life of fulfillment is literally a matter of perspective.
Mhm.
And our quote for this episode is an event is just an event. Everything else is subjective. So we want to invite you for anybody that does want to work on this empowering perspective. If you feel like you're stuck or you're in victim mode and you aren't sure how to get out of those negative, anxious cycles, maybe of content that you are viewing your life through, then we invite you to book a call with us in order to hear more about and see if this is really for you, this ultimate self-mastery program, which we offer and facilitate. a little bit more about it, it is a weekly mindset training. So we keep talking about programming ourselves so that things become unconsciously competent in the way you think and picking this empowering, positive mindset. So this is one of our best offers for it. It is a program that literally just shows up in your doorstep, on your doorstep, created by Mr. Peter Sage, and offers neuroconditioning by an hour a week. You just have to push play and consistently for a whole year. So you're going to get 52 lessons if this is what you choose of engaged neuroconditioning, spaced repetition, guaranteed impact. He has so much science and fact to support these claims that we're making on here. This is not frugal or frivolous, like unbacked information that we're trying to give you. This actually, in fact, was a program that I started my growth journey in with Peter, and I can't say enough positive things about it, and just making it really easy to fit into my life, so that I knew there was something better, and really sparked the interest for me to move forward on my journey.
Yeah, and Peter is, like we talked about, a behavior expert, and it's just his work is dynamic. His this is our entry level program. The higher level program is like the gold standard worldwide for personal growth and transformation, because it creates lasting transformation. And I think we alluded to earlier on another discussion that people buy material and go to 3-day workshops or whatever, and then go home, and then you forget about it, or you read books and put them on the shelf, but not actually integrating that into who we become, like our identity, like we talked about earlier also, that it has to become who we are. And this weekly ability to just sit down and really lean into this is it's so magical, really, because it does the work for you in a lot of ways. You just got to show up and pay attention and just take in what you're learning, and it'll change you. The program will change you.
And for anyone that signs up with us, Roberta and I are offering bi-weekly coaching calls as well. Do you want to talk about some of the students that we have already that are enjoying that?
Yeah, we are meeting every 2 weeks with the students that are in USM, and it's just an opportunity to fill out their material that they're going through. We have a little a power journal, we call it, and so just filling out some specific facts of what they're taking in, and then coming together so we can have that face-to-face discussion. We do it on Zoom, and it's very empowering. They can ask questions, we can go over materials and really flesh out what's how that's impacting each person's life. And it's just very empowering. Like when we have community, we're going to be accountable. We're going to want to change more. And it's just enjoyment. It's not like it's not a negative. It doesn't feel like something you have to do. It's something you really look forward to doing. And once you start, it's like the students, they can't wait to get to their next lesson and take that time away and kind of hide away and just, really embody this and embrace it, because it will absolutely change your life.
So that being said, we do encourage you book a call with us to discuss the program a little bit further. If you want some more details, even if you're a little bit interested, there's no obligation in the call. The call is free. We will add our links here attached to this video so that you can get a hold of either Roberta or myself, Tish, and let's start working on your growth. Let's figure out how to program yourself so that you can live this joyful, empowered life that we truly wish for you.
Thank you, Tish.